Trees function as Earth's atmospheric processors. These botanical entities have contributed so fundamentally to life's evolution and civilization's advancement that their importance defies measurement. Our species' survival depends entirely on their existence, while they would flourish magnificently in our absence. Their evolutionary adaptability reaches extraordinary heights. Among all Earth's living organisms, trees stand as the most magnificent specimens. Today, I'll reveal the most extraordinary examples among them. Let's begin this journey. Desert endurance specialists, the baobab dynasty. Surviving in arid regions where precipitation remains absent for extended periods requires trees to develop specialized capabilities. These colossal specimens have mastered precisely such adaptations. Their barrel-like appearance serves a crucial purpose. Meet the baobabs. These arboreal giants maintain lifespans spanning millennia. Their survival mechanism centers on an extraordinary capacity to accumulate hundreds of thousands of liters of water within the porous timber of their massive trunks. You're observing genuine aquatic storage systems, yet this water retention capability creates both advantages and challenges for these plants. This storage ability transforms them into magnets for diverse fauna that gnaw their timber to satisfy thirst. Elephants demonstrate particularly notable behavior. Throughout drought periods, baobab wood's moisture content becomes virtually their sole hydration source during extensive migrations toward water sources. This timber-derived hydration literally preserves their existence, though this reality provides little comfort to the affected trees. Yet, can we fault these desperate elephants when humans equally readily consume these trees' moist wood? Within desert environments, these trees represent genuine oases. Survival becomes impossible without their presence. Fortunately, baobabs possess remarkable regenerative abilities, recovering even from severe tissue damage. During intervals between destructive encounters, they expand their spongy wood structure and cultivate fresh bark layers. This regenerative cycle continues repeatedly across centuries. Madagascar's living reservoirs. Madagascar's inhabitants rapidly discovered methods to harness these trees' extraordinary properties. Throughout Madagascar's western regions, drought conditions persist so extensively that virtually no alternative tree species can survive. Baobabs endure years without receiving single raindrops. Warm, moisture-laden atmospheric currents flowing from the Indian Ocean generate abundant precipitation across eastern Madagascar. However, mountainous terrain prevents this rainfall from reaching western areas, creating vast desert expanses. This arid landscape extends nearly to the western coastline. Approximately 30 kilometers inland lies Ampataka village. Current conditions reflect drought season, with temperatures occasionally reaching 40 degrees Celsius in shade. Rainfall has been absent for 10 months. Daily existence becomes a survival struggle. The nearest water supply sits 60 kilometers distant. Water scarcity forces residents to prepare meals using melon or watermelon liquids. Even these resources approach depletion. Two village inhabitants proceed toward their survival secret, the baobab tree. The baobab represents the fundamental reason human existence remains possible throughout these regions. Baobabs earn the designation life trees. For these communities, it provides essential lifeline support. The enormous trunk accommodates such vast water quantities that merely several trees can sustain entire villages through year-long drought periods. Engineering living water systems. As previously mentioned, baobabs demonstrate exceptional recovery capabilities following profound wounds. This tree species exhibits incredible life resilience. This characteristic permits hollowing the soft trunk interior to construct water reservoirs. The tree survives this process. Within 6 months, it develops bark covering the internal surfaces, achieving waterproof conditions. The result? A functioning well, a living container. Excavating a baobab requires more than 14 days. This represents demanding labor. Hollowing should occur exclusively during dry seasons. Selecting appropriate timing for excavation proves crucial, as does choosing suitable baobabs. Incorrect selection may cause rot and subsequent death. During rainy periods, all baobabs become waterlogged, making them untouchable. Leaf emergence also indicates inappropriate timing for baobab excavation. Village residents, including children, possess this knowledge. One critical requirement must be observed following baobab excavation, waiting minimum 6 months before introducing water. Otherwise, catastrophe results. Death threatens the tree. Residents fill trees with water during brief rainy seasons. These living reservoirs can store thousands of liters while baobabs resist decay, even after decades of such utilization. This phenomenon remains exceptional within the botanical world. Current drought duration has emptied this particular tree. Nevertheless, reservoir maintenance continues. Periodic removal of sprouting debris prevents reservoir volume reduction. Though this reservoir's water has evaporated, these villagers inherited 7 additional reservoirs from ancestors. Only one retains water. They attempt maximizing its duration. Monthly washing becomes necessary. Laundry and cooking near trees face prohibition, preventing temptation to wastefully exceed required water consumption. When water transport requires hundreds of meters from tree to residence, usage naturally becomes more considered. Following each rainy season, people rapidly collect water near baobabs and introduce it into tree interiors. Entire villages participate because baobab filling must occur before water evaporation, which happens extremely quickly. Natural cavity formation. Within numerous ancient baobabs, hollow cores develop naturally without human intervention. Multiple theories explain this process. Interior space proves so extensive that various animals establish residence alongside human habitation. Hollow baobabs have functioned as commercial establishments, storage facilities, burial chambers, and dining venues. South Africa recently housed a tavern within an extremely old baobab that attracted numerous tourists. Annually, over 7,000 visitors came to observe this unique establishment. This baobab ranked among the world's largest specimens, at least until 2017, when the ancient tree collapsed and suffered destruction. Legends describe hollow baobabs serving as temporary detention facilities en route to urban areas. They could temporarily house enslaved individuals, as baobabs frequently grow along historical slave trade pathways. Through its desert survival capabilities, the baobab has enabled numerous animal species and tens of thousands of humans to inhabit these regions. Alternative desert survival strategies. Yet trees exist that employ different desert survival strategies than baobabs. They lack thick, water-storing trunks, but possess alternative adaptations. Here, within Socotra's desert, a remote Arabian Sea island, dry seasons prove brutal. However, this unusual tree successfully endures such conditions. Its desert survival key lies in its distinctive form, the dragon's blood tree. These trees flourish atop hills where soil quality remains extremely poor, but adequate substitutes exist. Infrequent morning condensation covers terrain. Droplets accumulate on broad, dense foliage. Moisture flows toward trunk centers, then toward root systems. Water represents too valuable a resource to waste single drops. Yet ground-fallen droplets aren't permanently lost. The tree's expansive, dense canopy functions like protective covering. Its shade provides sufficient time for water penetration into sand. Additionally, the canopy shades roots positioned near surface levels. Another tree species inhabits this desert. It resembles a miniature baobab version. This is adenium. Within its thick trunk, it similarly stores substantial water quantities like baobabs to survive until rainfall arrives. This tree demonstrates such hardiness that it grows on bare rock surfaces. Extreme conditions, sand dune environments. Certain deserts render tree existence fundamentally impossible. For instance, deserts consisting of massive sand dunes, like Taklamakan in northern China. This represents constantly shifting sandy terrain. Extreme temperature variations occur here, and critically, precipitation remains virtually absent. Rational individuals would declare tree survival impossible under such conditions. However, nature challenges this assumption. Here, directly upon dunes, Euphrates poplars flourish, and they're not solitary. They don't merely survive, they're so comfortable that some specimens exceed 1,000-year lifespans. How do they manage existence under such circumstances? Nature has equipped them with remarkably extensive root systems that gather water and connect neighboring trees into communal networks. Therefore, when one tree receives water, others can share the resource. Saltwater adaptation, mangrove innovation. Some trees face even harsher conditions than any desert environment. Before you appears an extremely unusual scene. A tree grows amid oceanic waters. According to biological principles, salt water should have eliminated it long ago, yet somehow it persists. This mangrove tree calmly produces flowers. How is this possible? This plant possesses fascinating capabilities. When tidal action begins, mangrove roots, covered with warty protrusions surrounded by pores, capture air within these growths. When water again floods roots, these protrusions permit water entry into the plant, but filtering systems remove 99% of contained salt. Remaining salt accumulates in several expendable leaves, which yellow and subsequently drop. Simply ingenious solution. This mangrove superpower has resulted in enormous mangrove forest development directly along ocean coastlines. Incredibly, this entire forest submerges daily during high tides, then emerges during low tides. Throughout these locations, oceanic water penetrates kilometers inland during tidal action. Mangrove trees required millions of evolutionary years to adapt to such conditions. No other global tree species could survive here. Such unusual forests create extremely strange phenomena. Aquatic life within trees. Before you stands a mangrove tree rhizophora. Its trunk doesn't contact ground. Instead, a network of giant roots supports the tree within soft, muddy sediment. During high tides, numerous fish enter the forest, but many avoid repeating this journey, so during low tides they perform something extraordinary. Within certain roots of fallen trunks exist tunnels created by specialized sea mollusks. When water levels decrease, fish swim into these openings. Low tide continues, roots and tree trunks emerge on land, but fish remain secure in water-filled corridors within tree interiors. Indeed, trees exist where fish reside, simply phenomenal. Yet if you assume life within trees is carefree, that's incorrect. Several hours after low tide begins, water within trees diminishes, so these gobies swim deeper into labyrinth systems. However, even here within trees, predators hunt these fish. This mangrove snake demonstrates patience and waits. It's an experienced hunter, but success isn't guaranteed. While fish attempt hiding from snakes in darkness, water within trees continues depleting. All tide-dependent creatures await its return. After several hours, it finally arrives. Water floods mangrove forests and flows into tunnel systems. Tiny gobies begin stirring. These resilient small fish endured 6 waterless hours. They exit their secure labyrinths to consume microscopic plankton that seawater transported. Shipworm inhabitants and culinary treasures. Besides fish, shipworms prefer mangrove tree habitation. Though not true worms, these represent mollusk species. They bore passages using modified shells and reach-meter links. Actually, these creatures enable fish entry into trees. These worms have become genuine delicacies. People seeking them enter mangrove forests and search for trunks perforated by these creatures, then fell trees and extract hidden mollusks. Some consume them raw. Locating mangroves housing shipworms proves extremely challenging. Experience-seeking skills are essential. Sometimes hunters achieve luck and discover genuine jackpots. Trees prove filled with worms, delighting local residents who immediately celebrate feasts. When trees are felled, worms die immediately because air proves lethal. Before consumption, head removal is necessary. Sometimes enormous specimens are discovered in trunks. Such sizes can't be swallowed whole. They're living sausages, burning trees and bleeding sap. Even more interesting discoveries occur within trees. Throughout virtually any planetary region, nature walks can reveal such unusual scenes. Such trees earn devil tree designations. Fire rages directly within their interiors. Moreover, they can burn continuously for several days. This natural phenomenon occurs frequently. Humans don't cause this. Natural processes create these events. Simultaneously terrifying, mesmerizing, and frightening. Lightning strikes cause this phenomenon, hitting dry, hollow trunks. Consequently, trees begin burning internally while exteriors remain undamaged for extended periods. Within hollow trunks, effective drafts often develop and fire spreads vertically. Yet completely opposite scenarios occur when water flows from trees. These scenes were captured in Montenegro. Locals call this tree the water tree. For 30 years, fountains from this mulberry tree periodically erupt. The explanation is straightforward. This mountainous region contains numerous underground springs, and following rains their pressure increased and water ascends through hollow trunks. Sometimes trees are encountered from which blood flows. More precisely, not actual blood, this represents tree sap coloration, but it resembles blood so closely that it becomes unsettling. Simply breaking a branch makes trees appear to bleed. Our planet hosts several tree species with such colored sap, including the dragon's blood tree mentioned earlier. This red tree sap served as dye in ancient Greece and Rome. Today, it continues finding applications in folk crafts, furniture industry, perfumery, and cosmetics. This sap also enjoys use in traditional medicine, milk-producing trees, and rubber sources. Trees exist from which something more valuable flows, milk. Moreover, people extract it for identical purposes as regular cow milk extraction. Milk trees, like numerous other mulberry family representatives, secrete milky sap, but unlike other plant milky saps, it's not poisonous, but quite edible and flavorful. Unlike genuine milk, milk tree sap possesses thicker, more viscous consistency and balsamic fragrance. After air exposure, it thickens and resembles cheese or cottage cheese. This milk resists spoilage for weeks even under tropical climate conditions. It mixes effectively with water in any proportions without curdling. Local populations widely consume it as food, replacing cow milk. When boiled, wax separates on surfaces, used for candle and chewing gum production. Yet not every milk tree is drinkable. Numerous other species produce milky sap unsuitable for food consumption, but extraction continues. For what purpose? Remarkably, rubber is manufactured from it, specifically latex, subsequently processed into rubber. Over 60% of natural latex serves automobile tire production. All these items originate from tree sap, and before synthetic rubber invention, all global rubber derived from this sap. Jungle competition and plant alliances. Moving to jungle environments, every plant fights for solar access because dense vegetation permits only 2% of light to reach ground level, so low plants receive insufficient sunlight essential for survival. Competition proves fierce here. 3 centuries ago, this Cecropia tree initiated its light pursuit. Daily it absorbed water and sunlight necessary for giant growth. It successfully accomplished the task essential for any tree's survival, rising above jungle understory twilight. Now it bathes in solar radiation. This achievement led to something remarkable. Other plants exploited this tree's success. Now thousands of various plants inhabit its branches. These include fern species, orchids, and figs. 1,000 plants grow on one single tree. These plants outsmarted the system and live by the principle, if victory is impossible, utilize those who can achieve it. This occurs throughout forests for millions of years. Evolution demonstrates cunning. Tree-dwelling plants even become homes for various animals. Poison dart frogs and bromeliad nurseries. This frog ascends the tree, transporting its offspring, a tadpole. For it, this tree represents a genuine Everest. These frogs' footpads adhere to trunks, but one error could prove fatal. Neighbors already awaited on the tree. Over 5,000 tiny animals inhabit it. The frog knows that within one plant growing on the tree, specifically in bromeliads, water exists inside, making it an ideal nursery. Great height above ground provides protection from terrestrial predators. The frog deposits the tadpole and departs for others, which also require distribution, each to its own nursery, to its own bromeliad pool. The frog constantly monitors its offspring in each plant and provides food, unfertilized eggs, until they mature and transform into frogs. Many frog species spend entire lifespans in these bromeliads and their tree holes. Here they possess everything necessary: food, shelter, and water. Life, one could say, succeeds. Yet only one problem exists. A monkey species discovered that these plants often contain fresh meat. Now they've begun investigating these water-filled pitchers seeking frogs. Yet monkeys aren't the sole risk to bromeliad pool-dwelling frog lives. Jungle rains occur regularly and prevent frog pool desiccation. This seems beneficial, but sometimes abundance becomes excessive. When water saturates leaves and bark, ancient trees become heavier. Heavy rains erode topsoil. Ancient trees steadfastly endure torrential precipitation until one day this occurs. Giant collapse, destroying entire ecosystems that inhabited it. When trees of such magnitude fall, gaps appear in jungle green canopies. This doesn't escape notice. Imagine, all understory vegetation lived in shadow for centuries, and suddenly everything receives light flooding. This signals new race initiation attempting to occupy this coveted solar position. Seeds awaiting their moment begin germinating. Everyone attempts outpacing others, climbing plants achieve quick starts and immediately strangle other seedlings. Very rapidly, fallen giants become completely covered with young vegetation. Voids fill and transform into luxurious clearings. Strangler figs, the fatal embrace. However, besides tropical rains, other threats menace giant trees. The issue is, not all plants growing on them are harmless and peaceful. Right now, seeds of one such plant were transported to a branch via animal excrement. This plant requires more nutrients than it can locate on the tree. Therefore, it begins performing something strange. While most trees grow upward toward light, this acts completely differently and descends into darkness. Its roots descend downward, achieving 50-meter lengths. This descent can require years, but eventually the plant begins reaching ground. While it doesn't yet represent danger to its host, everything changes when its roots contact soil and penetrate earth. Receiving nutrients, water, and soil substances, roots become thicker. Some animals exploit the situation and utilize these thin roots for climbing to obtain fruit. Without these roots, these monkeys would never risk such heights because one mistake means death. These trees exceed 20-story building heights. Meanwhile, parasitic plants send increasingly more roots. Where roots contact, they intertwine together. Now the giant tree's fate becomes predetermined. It finds itself in strangler fig's deadly embrace. Years will pass, and these roots will strangle the host. As it grows, the fig also absorbs most water and nutrients intended for the host. Defeated, unable to grow, the giant tree will perish. Its own parasite kills it. 10 years later, only decaying wood fragments will remind that once an enormous tree stood here. The strangler fig, supported by its roots, stands where victim remains once existed. The victor in eternal solar energy struggle. Now it will utilize its position for reproduction. The fig produces numerous fruits, attracting animals from surrounding areas. They consume everything here within a week. Then, along with their excrement, they transport fig seeds to other trees. The wheel of samsara turns. Strangler figs create truly mesmerizing scenes. It's not daily that you observe enormous roots dangling from great heights. The toxic manchineal defense system. So, as we understand, giant trees are not invulnerable. Natural disasters and other plants kill them. However, this isn't their only threat. Some animals also pose dangers. This plant had 80 million years to develop effective protection. This is manchineal, one of the world's most protected plants from animals. It possesses a tall, slippery trunk that secretes poisonous sap. Branches exist only at the very top, providing nothing to grasp. Though this giant is invulnerable to animals, the paradox is that precisely this characteristic causes animals to kill it. The tree's invulnerability played a cruel trick. The thing is, birds quickly realized that since no predator could climb this tree, it represents an ideal nesting location. Consequently, every monsoon season, the tree attracts hundreds of glossy starlings that establish nests. Naturally, they also defecate there. Annually, birds produce over 1/4 ton of droppings. Toxic chemicals in droppings create dead zones surrounding trees. Roots absorb toxins and they travel through trunks to every leaf. Consequently, branches begin falling off with nests, but this doesn't deter birds. Branch after branch and poisoned trees slowly die. They became victims of their own success. Nearby, another such tree met identical fate. It died and begins decomposing. Fungi consume it. Sequoia giants, the ultimate titans. If discussing genuine giant trees, then famous California sequoias have no equals. These represent real titans. Undoubtedly Earth's largest trees. They can achieve heights exceeding 100 meters and weigh equivalent to 20 blue whales. Daily, they elevate 2 to 3,000 liters of water up their trunks to 30-story building heights. Sequoias grow throughout their lifespans. They possess no height limitations. For example, the world's tallest sequoia achieved 160-meter height in 800 years of life. This exceeds Statue of Liberty height. One primary reason it almost ceased growing is woodpeckers that damaged its trunk at the very summit. Additionally, when sequoias become too tall, atmospheric pressure becomes excessive. Water delivery to tops becomes increasingly difficult, and upper leaves begin drying and dying. Precisely environmental factors limit their growth, not the trees themselves. In ideal environments, these giants could live indefinitely. Some of these trees already span 2,000 years. Their imagination-striking heights attract numerous climbers. Moreover, some extremists climb without utilizing any additional equipment except safety ropes. These coniferous forests receive solar energy not for couple months yearly like taiga, but for half years. Therefore, these trees grow 10 times faster than their northern relatives and live for millennia. Ancient yews and pollen explosions. Moving to southern Britain. Here grow even more ancient trees than sequoias. Some span 4,000 years. One yew species here in Sussex sometimes panics local residents. They possess frightening pollination methods. On warm spring days, male tree inflorescences open, releasing massive pollen clouds. Their volume becomes so substantial that firefighters often receive calls about alleged forest fires. While pollen settles, it can land on female yew trees and fertilize them. Madagascar's spiny forests. Returning to Madagascar. Here in the island's arid region, you can discover one very interesting thorny and impassable forest. Unlike any you'll encounter elsewhere, plants are covered with spines. With their assistance, they capture atmospheric moisture particles and absorb it with entire trunks. Leaves are small, adapted to minimal water loss, reliably protected by thorns. An extremely inhospitable location. Yet these aren't the world's only thorny trees. Several more species exist that, instead of sacrificing leaves or branches for protection, employ spines, such as magnificent ceiba, ready to repel any assault. You definitely shouldn't interfere with it. Some tree spines can achieve 20 centimeters, like honey locust. Its spines are so large and sharp that they've punctured tractor tires multiple times. They've seriously injured people who stumbled on them and fractured bones. Theory suggests trees evolved such spines during mammoth and other large animal periods to defend against them. Yet they became extinct, so now such large spines aren't needed, but evolution is too slow for plants to quickly self-correct and eliminate their thorns. Rainbow eucalyptus, nature's palette. This represents one of the most unusual trees imaginable, the rainbow eucalyptus. It immediately distinguishes itself among all other eucalyptus species through its coloration. Appearing like something from children's fantasies, this tree is the only eucalyptus species that grows wild in the northern hemisphere. Due to its appearance, it's beloved for ornamental plant use. Bark coloration constantly changes. Bark falls annually, but always at different times. The inner layer is bright green, but as it matures, it darkens and changes its tone. This creates blue, purple, orange, and dark burgundy tone layering. Due to its qualities, this tree is actively utilized for paper production, ordinary white paper. Because of this, excessive cutting of these trees occurs. The deforestation crisis. Generally, excessive forest cutting represents a major problem. For example, this baobab forest, which is among the world's most unique and upon which many animals depend, was completely cut down immediately after these recordings. It no longer exists. Now they cultivate agricultural crops there. Only 3% of these forests remain on the island. Due to deforestation, climate dramatically changes. Now Madagascar has become even more arid than 15 years ago. We possess reliable scientific evidence that fewer forests correlate with reduced rainfall frequency. Monsoons become less powerful. This is occurring globally now. In merely 100 years, we've eliminated half the planet's forests. This threatens great catastrophe. Scientists predict civilization collapse within coming decades solely from deforestation facts. Recovery hope, the Chernobyl example. Yet forests can recover if given opportunities. The best proof is Chernobyl. Following technological disaster, this city transformed into a ghost town. The contamination zone was declared uninhabitable for coming millennia, but despite this, even here plants thrive excellently. No one disturbs them, so nature here rapidly revives. If left uninterrupted, trees are prepared to grow anywhere, even on building rooftops. In merely 10 years, ruined Pripyat city became covered with plants. As forests recovered, animals began returning here. Initially, it was thought animals wandered here mistakenly, but it was discovered that the ghost town was flooded with organized animal groups. After merely 20 years, their population here equaled numbers in Europe's wildest corners. In the exclusion zone alone, 10 times more wolves live than beyond its borders. The amazing nature resurrection in Chernobyl region in just 30 years speaks to incredible forest resilience. If we provide all forests such opportunities, they will cover Earth again. Dense and healthy forests are the key to our planet's survival. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you and see you in the next videos. Take care.